So part one, what we're going to be covering today is going to be understanding the role of the personal statement in the admissions process. Okay, so the purpose of a personal statement is that basically it is used as a part of the admissions process, and it is able to give the admissions committee a picture of who you are, right? So they've never met you before, more than likely, and it is used to kind of generate an interest in meeting you. So you want to make sure that it's inviting and informative because it's adding this like human piece to your application that test scores or your resume or recommendation letters just can't give them. It also lets the admissions committee know what's your why, what are these motivating factors that you have that are leading you to apply for this program or for this school or this graduate program. It also gives you an opportunity to kind of go into detail about different experiences that you've had that have helped shape your goals or have helped motivate you to even pursue this path. So it's like really an opportune time for you to really go into detail about your passion and why you're passionate about this career field and why you're passionate about going into this program. It also just allows them to figure out who you are apart from all of like the statistical information that may be attached to your application. And it shows them that you are more than just the test scores or just the experiences that you have listed on your resume, that you do have a vision and an outlook on what you want to do in your future. So there are generally two types of personal statements. There's a general personal statement, and that's usually about a page or about a page and a half. If you're ever confused about like character limits or page length in regard to personal statements, you can always feel free to reach out to your admissions coordinator and ask. I know sometimes students are a little scared to kind of reach out to these people and ask, but that's their job. And so they are more than happy to kind of help you and guide you in formatting your personal statement. But the general personal statement is about a page where you just kind of talk about yourself, general motivations, or in 5,000 characters or less, discuss your interest in becoming a physician's assistant, or discuss your interest in coming into this Master's in Business Administration program, or anything such as that. Those are kind of like your general personal statement prompts. Then you have maybe more of a focused personal statement prompt. And these are things that you can usually find on like an AMCAS application if you are applying to medical school, where they're asking for specific experiences or meaningful experiences, or discussing a time where you dealt with something creatively, or tell me about a personal accomplishment or experience that is important to you, and how does this relate to the person that you are. And that's where you kind of pull on a very specific experience and you just kind of outline it out for the admissions committee to see. In addition to kind of these different personal statements, I also want to like let you know to keep in mind what system you're applying to, because there are multiple systems. So as I mentioned before, say you're applying to a medical program, you'll be utilizing the AMCAS system, which is a centralized application system specifically for medical applicants. However, say you wanted to apply to the counseling program here at the University of Georgia, that's going to be a direct application to the University of Georgia. So you're not kind of sending, with the centralized application system, you would be sending one personal statement to multiple schools, whereas with a direct application system, you're sending one statement to one school in particular. So if you are starting to consider this like graduate school process or professional program process, look into what system your application is going into, because that may tell you if you're going to need various personal statements or if you're going to need to tailor your personal statement to particular schools and things like that. So here are some quotes that I'm just going to read off to you about what admissions officers have been saying about personal statements. So we look for some originality because 9 out of 10 essays leave you with a big yawn. I like science. I like to help people, and that's why I want to be a doctor. I would simply say, do it yourself, be careful, edit it, go through as many drafts as necessary, and more important than anything, be yourself. Really show your personality, tell us why you are unique, and why we should admit you. And then also, We want applicants to personalize the statement, to tell us something about themselves that they think is worthy of sharing, something that makes them unique, different, and the type of medical student and future physician that we're all looking for. What have they done that shows that they can relate to people, and have they done it in an effective fashion? So I know that these quotes were kind of geared towards medical school applicants. However, the things that these admissions committee people are saying still ring true. They're still letting you know that they want this kind of human element to who you are, and they want it to be unique and new and different. So you want to steer away from anything that kind of sounds overgeneralized or cliche or like it's already been done before. You really want to let your personality shine through when you're creating your personal statement. So the second part of the presentation is going to be common mistakes that people make when writing their personal statement. Okay, so the biggest one is that you want to show, don't tell. So I know a lot of times when we're writing, we're just kind of trying to fluff our papers or things like that, just in order to kind of get to the page limit that our professors are requiring for us, right? Well, in your personal statement, you don't have the space to do that. A lot of times there are page limits to like 1 to 2 page um, limits on how much space you have. So I really want you all to think of that space as in real estate. And so you have a limited amount of space where you have to kind of build this fantastic home that is going to seem inviting and seem welcoming and be unique and kind of draw the admissions committee in. And they want them to be drawn in because you want them to then want to come meet you, right? So on this real estate, it's going to be really, really important that we show, don't tell. So what that looks like is you show by saying something like, instead of saying, in the research lab, I developed persistence and determination by having to repeat failed experiments and create new solutions. So instead of physically naming persistence and determination, you then show how you showed persistence and determination. Although each failed experiment delayed my research, I continuously developed new methods and designs and was able to present my findings to my peers at the research symposium. So that sounds like two totally different things that happened, but I have so much more information about who you are and what you did, because now with the second bullet point, I see persistence, I see determination, I see diligence, I see responsibility, way more things than you just could name up at top on your persistence and determination. So I really want you all to focus on, instead of just utilizing these buzzwords that you hear all the time, like compassion or empathy or anything like that, making sure that you're able to kind of explain what you mean by, oh, I, am an empathetic person. Well, what does that look like for you? That may be, I like to sit and listen to people, or I'm very considerate of others' feelings, or something like that. So taking the extra step to really kind of explain and flesh out the adjectives and the phrases and the words that you are using to describe yourself in your personal statement. And so here go the tips to what you should probably not do. So we definitely want to avoid cliches. So I always tell students, you could think that like this story that you're about to tell, that you heard, like this old parable or the quote or something that you're going to use, is going to be the first time that anyone has ever used it because it is so unique, but it may not be. A lot of times students may start something with like a John F. Kennedy quote or like a Franklin Roosevelt quote, and they think like, oh, this is so impactful, and I really utilize this to guide my work. And I think that's great. I think that's phenomenal. However, you may not have been the first person to do it. So we definitely want to avoid to use it, because you don't want the admissions committee to open your personal statement so excited to meet you and then see a quote and I'm like, oh man, I've read this quote 1,000 times. I already know how this personal statement is going to go. So trying to figure out how we can even personalize our anecdote and our hook on our personal statement to generate that interest in even reading the rest of the statement. So don't start with the definition or quote. Don't, say, my parents are accountants, so I need to be an accountant as well, or anything like that. There are some ways that you can kind of work in parental influence. So like if you do have a parent who was maybe a medical doctor and watching them interact with patients really inspired you to kind of pursue that route. You are able to still talk about that in your personal statement, but it's all in how you do it. So you don't want to make it come across as being like an overgeneralization or a cliche or anything like that. Also, some tips to know is that you really don't want to repeat any information or list any information from your resume. So your personal statement is kind of your opportunity to go into more detail about some experiences that you have listed on your resume. So say you want to be a speech and language pathologist. And so you have experiences working with students in a daycare, and you have that on your resume. But you have one specific experience of working in a daycare with one specific student that just really has warmed your heart and kind of really transformed you as a person. That is what you then put onto your personal statement, is that one very specific experience or interaction that you had that was very personal, not just listing off all of the things that you've done. Also try to avoid talking about like how much money you're going to make in the position, or how much money your salary will increase by getting this degree or anything like that. Also try not to be cliche and to say like, oh, this is such an amazing program, this is such a world renowned program, because like I said in the previous slide, we can show and not tell. So you can show a program that they are a phenomenal program without saying like, oh, this is such an amazing program, that's why I want to go here. You could say things like, I love your state-of-the-art facilities, or I love the small class sizes, or I love the fact that I'll be able to get hands-on experience doing X, Y, and Z. And then that way they'll know that not only have you been researching the program that you're interested in applying for, but they'll also know how committed you are to their school in particular by actually naming tangibles that the university has to offer you. Okay, so here goes some general tips that I just kind of wanted to go over. I definitely want you all to plan ahead. So you're already on the right track. You're attending a personal statement webinar in September. A lot of program application deadlines are probably going to come out later this year. So it's a great time for you to go ahead and get started in that planning process and to start creating some drafts. So that's going to come to my second line, which is definitely create an outline. So I know a lot of times people think like, oh, well, I'll just sit down and write my personal statement, but trust me, when I was applying for graduate school, it took me probably 13 times before I actually nailed down the personal statement that I was going to submit to my graduate program. So be intentional and go ahead and create an outline. Go ahead and start thinking about the things that you want to discuss and you want admissions committees to know about you. Definitely start writing in the middle. So what that means is like sometimes you may have to start with your experiences. So starting with those meaningful experiences and then kind of writing outward. So you may not realize what your motivation is when you first start writing your personal statement. And it's not until you've already fleshed out your experiences that you're able to kind of figure out, okay, so this is why I want to go. So know that that is okay. Like I said, definitely show, don't tell. Be prepared for multiple drives. So if you're going to be in like the 13 club like me, welcome. I welcome you. You will not be the first person that have had to go through multiple revisions in order to get the personal statement that they wanted to submit. Also, make sure that you proofread and revise. And at the end of the presentation, I'm definitely going to supply you with some resources that are going to help you with that. Don't overwrite. So sometimes we are very passionate about the subjects that we are going into, and we really want to get all the information out there, and we want to go over page limits. Please respect the admissions committee's page limits or character limits or anything like that. I always tell students that sometimes even if you do overwrite on your application, they may not even print off that last page. And so there are pieces of your application that they've never even heard about because they said 2 pages and you decided to do 3, but they're only going to read 2. Definitely don't speak in cliches and generalities. Don't preach or whine. So don't, go in and say, well, this is why I need to do it, or I deserve this because there's a way to showcase adversity and resilience in your application without coming across as preachy or whiny or anything like that. Definitely don't repeat anything that's already in your application. Try to find some unique, meaningful experiences from like those larger experiences that you've had. And like I said, don't forget to be personal at the end of the day. All right, let me go to the next one. Okay, so the third portion of our personal statement workshop, and I think this is kind of the most important when we're talking about the elements of a personal statement. These are the four pieces to a strong personal statement. No matter what program you're applying for, no matter what school you're applying for, these are things that are always going to lead you to having a very strong and well-structured personal statement. So what does motivation, fit, vision, and capacity look like within the personal statement? So motivation. Motivation is exactly what it sounds like. Why do you want to pursue this career? What has motivated you? What is driving you to go through this process? What was the initial inspiration? Or some people do not have like a, oh, this is my aha moment. Sometimes it was a collection of experiences. So maybe it was volunteering at a food shelter and volunteering for different community service organizations around the University of Georgia, which helped you realize that you wanted to go get your master's in nonprofit management. Maybe it was something like that, or maybe it was when you broke your leg playing basketball and you saw the value of becoming an occupational therapist because your occupational therapist helped you. So whatever your initial inspiration or whatever ongoing preparation you have that has then led you to want to apply for these programs, that is going to be your motivation. Typically, your motivation sits at the very beginning of your personal statement because that's what's used to bring in your admissions committee. That's what's going to make them want to read the rest. So as captivating as you can make this like motivational moment in your life, that's what you want to do. The next portion of it is going to be your fit and your capacity. So even though fit and capacity are technically two different tiers of your personal statement, we always combine them because they kind of go hand in hand. So fit is going to talk about how do you know that this career is the right career for you. So like, does your values match? Do your personal qualities match? Do they match the profession? So I always tell students, like, say, you're applying for a Master's of Teaching program and you really, really, really like have always wanted to be a teacher, but somehow you like hate talking to children. So maybe that might not be the correct career path for you to do since you will be having to talk to children a lot in a master's program for teaching. So assessing your own values and personal qualities to figure out, are they matching and lining up with the profession that I want to be in? Do I fit here? The next is capacity, and capacity is what have I done that shows you I fit here. So how do you know that you have what it takes to be successful in this career? So that's thinking about the skills that you've been able to gain, strengths, weaknesses, challenges, all sorts of things like that. So if you've worked in a lab your entire 4 years here at the University of Georgia, you have developed a lot of skills in research, lab structuring, lab training, all these things. And so those are the things that you can throw into your personal statement to show them, like, I have the capacity to do the work that's going to be necessary for an upper level program. So whatever skills, strengths, challenges, or weaknesses you may have had in any type of field or whatever, kind of think about where you fit in those and how those are going to fit in pushing you into the next step. Make sure that you always demonstrate them and your ability to succeed. So even if you do have a weakness, but it still kind of helps you figure out that this was still the right career path for you, making sure that you're able to kind of explain that in a way that shows that you're still successful, that you gained something from it, and that you were able to learn something from that experience. So if all else fails and you're really struggling to trying to figure out, like, what skills do I have, or what values do I possess, or what do I value, what am I interested in, I definitely encourage you to go ahead and go online and visit our Career Center website and go to the online resources tab and go ahead and take a career assessment. We do have two that are totally free, and that is our type focus and our own net interest profiler. And so those are both going to give you just interest, personality, qualities, and values that you may hold. And it'll really help you start identifying things that are related to what you want to do in a career path. The other career assessment that I want to mention is a strong interest inventory, and it is $30, but it is more of a psychological evaluation that the Career Center does provide, and it's just going to give you a more in-depth look into like your work style and how you find like value in your work and potential work positions that may be greatly matched for you. So if you're interested in taking any of those, like I said, you can always just log on to the Career Center website and go to our online resources tab. Even if you feel like you know what values you possess and how they match up to the profession, I always recommend students to just take it because it's always helpful to have more words to kind of explain why you feel like you're a right fit for this position. Because you may have never known that, you know, you value compassion or you value integrity or intelligence or excellence or collegiality, but then you take one of these career assessments and those are kind of the phrases that you're getting back. And then you're able to then add those into your personal statement and make it even more unique to who you are. So the last portion of your personal statement is going to be your vision statement. And so this is kind of like your wrap up, and this is really how you're able to kind of bring it full circle. So I want you to think about how do you want to impact the profession. So I always tell students it can be as broad or specific as you want it to be. So some students know that I was supposed to be a veterinarian and I was supposed to deal with exotic animals, and that's just that on that. Or whatever, and that's what they put in their vision statement, and that's fine. However, there are some people who know, like, I just know that I'm supposed to be, I just know that I'm supposed to be a lawyer. I'm not sure what type of law I'm supposed to practice, but I'm excited to come to this program to figure it out in order to be able to impact change and develop myself professionally. So you can do it however you want to do it, but you need to make sure your closing it includes some sort of vision statement and outlook, because you want the admissions committee to know that you are thinking about what you hope to gain from this program and what type of professional you want to become. So already be thinking about, all right, what do I want to do next? And what do I want to include here in this statement? So the next part that I want to bring you all to is kind of like paragraph structure within your personal statement. Because like I said towards the beginning, we love to fluff some things up with our papers for our professors and our classes, right? I know I used to love to when I was in undergrad. I would be like, oh yeah, let me write this whole entire definition because I need to get to 5 pages. Well, with your personal statement, like I said, we have valuable real estate and a short amount of time to make a lot of impact. So by utilizing the peel method, you'll be able to get your point across concisely without like having any of the fluff. So I know I had earlier some people that were fairly knowledgeable about personal statements. So you may have already drafted your personal statement. So this could be a good opportunity for you to go through and see, do each of my sentences fall into one of these categories? So P stands for point, and that's your topic sentence. So think about, okay, what is the point that you want to make? E is for evidence, and that's okay, make your point. What supports this point of yours? E is your explanation. Why is this relevant to the program that you're pursuing? And then link is linking it to your next paragraph. So, for example, something that could have gone into my personal statement may have been, working at the University of Georgia Career Center provided me with a ton of resources. What's my evidence? I was able to host a variety of different webinars, such as an Arch Ready on personal statement. That's evidence that then supports my point that the Career Center gave me a lot of valuable resources. And then why is this relevant to the program that I'm pursuing? Let's just say that I'm trying to get my master's in psychology. So this is relevant to obtaining a master's in psychology because I was able to sit and work with various University of Georgia students, and it helped me realize the mental health need on campus at the University of Georgia as related to career readiness, something like that. And then linking it to the next paragraph, would look something like, along with my University of Georgia Career Center experience, I've also been able to gain a whole bunch of resources as a former teacher at a high school, and then going on to that next segment and kind of fleshing out the details with that. So I didn't have any fluff in that paragraph. Also, this was all off the top of my head. So it was probably a little rough to you all who were listening, but you see how concise I was able to make that whole entire story that could have instead taken up like 8 sentences. So making sure that we're able to kind of plug in each sentence into one of these pieces. Because if you just have a topic sentence and an explanation and a link, people are going to be like, well, what did you learn? How do you know that this was an impactful experience in your life? How do you know that you gained this skill? Where is the evidence? So making sure that each point of peel is incorporated into your personal statement and into your paragraph structures. Next, I want you to ask yourself, what details might help the admissions committee understand you better? So if you have a gap in your application, or you may have failed a class and your GPA isn't as high as it needs to be, or anything like that, and you have to have an opportunity to kind of explain what's going on, or maybe why you got off track, or why you changed majors, or why you took a gap year, or anything of that relation. Utilizing some space within your personal statement to kind of explain away any discrepancies can also greatly improve your whole entire application. Because if they're looking at your test score and they're looking at your resume, they're like, oh, this is a great applicant, but why did they never, have an internship or something prior to applying for us? Well, this could be an opportunity for you to say, well, I had planned to do an internship in summer 2020, but unfortunately with the pandemic, I, had to go home and care for my family. So that could be an opportunity for you to explain or clarify anything within your application that may be missing that the admissions committee isn't going to get to hear until they interview you. Also think about, what are your career goals? What are your top skills? What are some compelling reasons why you can give that you should be considered for admission? So do you have like expert experience in this subject, or are you like just extremely passionate and just really want to impact the profession in a big way? So thinking about like, what is my really good reason as to why I deserve to be a part of this incoming cohort or this incoming class? So here go some general more writing tips. So always be concise. Never use 2 words when 1 word will do. Delete some warm-up sentences and get straight to the point. Don't be afraid to rewrite or remove. When I'm telling you, you will edit, It's okay. Focus on your top 2 or 3 most meaningful experiences and use an outline to make sure that you're keeping it organized. So revise, revise, revise. So these are some people that you all can come see to help you with your revision process. So like I said, us here at the Career Center, we will help you proofread and critique your personal statement to make sure that it has all the elements, as well as we can make sure that it is aligning with like the mission, values, and goals of the program that you are applying to. If you're having some issues just kind of creating content, I definitely recommend reaching out to the Writing Center here at the University of Georgia. They are also great. Going to the Division of Academic Enhancement is great for proofreading. They provide free proofreads as well, unless you have like a super awesome grammar English best friend. I recommend like going through another set of eyes to make sure that you don't have any typos or misspelled words or like sentence splices or anything like that. Faculty and staff that you may trust at the University of Georgia, that could also be helpful as well. It could be a professor that means a lot to you. It could be a worker here, anyone that you think that could give you valuable feedback on your personal statement. And the last 2 people are someone who knows you well and someone who doesn't know you well. So someone who knows you well, because they are going to be able to see if your personal statement is actually you. And so this is going to be really, really important. You want your personal statement to be you and to be unique and to be personalized to who you are as a person. So by giving it to someone who knows you, they'll be able to check for that. Like, okay, yeah, this definitely sounds like Jennifer. There's no doubt in my mind that you're going to get in. And then someone who doesn't know you as well is beneficial because they have no idea who you are. And so this is their first time reading it, and probably their first time meeting you as well. And so not only will they know, all right, was I interested? Did I get bored? Did I understand? Did it make sense? Was there anything that was unclear? Do I need more information? And they will be able to help you with any gaps in your application that may happen. I did want to plug our little resources page because we do have a sample personal statement on page 53 through 54, as well as we do have some tabs about getting into graduate school, and that has some more personal statement information listed there. So you can just go to career.uga.edu and do grad school and then do getting into grad school, and they'll have more personal statement information listed on that page.